Hello footy fans, welcome to another episode of Bev's Footy Show for the season of 2017. Lots to get through, so let's get straight into having a look at the episode agenda. I'm going to start the show by having a look back at the round 22 results. Then going to have a look at how those results have affected the AFL ladder. A stats wrap up is coming up, and then the 5 talking points of the week follows that. And then to end the show, I'll have a look at the matches for the final round of the home and away season for 2017. I'll also give you my tips along with that. So that is the episode agenda for Bev's Footy Show, episode after round 22. Let's get straight into it. Round 22 started at the Adelaide Oval on Friday night. This was the match of the round. It was the Adelaide Crows taking on the Sydney Swans, the two informed teams of the competition at this present time taking on each other. It was a really good match. The Swans started off strong, but the Crows got themselves back into it and really gave themselves a chance to win the match, but the Swans were able to narrowly defeat the Crows by 3 points in a belter. And well, this could be a preview of the 2017 AFL Grand Final. These could be the two teams that play on that one Saturday in September. The final score being the Adelaide Crows 11-14-80, defeated by the Sydney Swans 13-5-83 in front of 51,466 at the beautiful Adelaide Oval. Saturday there were 5 games. It all started at Mars Stadium in Ballarat. This was an historic match between the Western Bulldogs and Port Adelaide because it was the first home and away match for premiership points at the new redeveloped Mars Stadium in Ballarat, Eureka Stadium it's also originally named as. And this was an interesting game. It was kept close for at least 3 quarters with a few league changes, a couple of scores, the scores being level at various points in the match. But Port Adelaide kicked the last 5 goals of the game and pretty much put a dash through any chance of the Western Bulldogs making the finals in 2017. They still can make it, but they have to rely on a few results in round 23. Talk about that very shortly. But the final score, the Western Bulldogs 11-13-79, defeated by Port Adelaide 14-12-96 in front of 10,087 people at Mars Stadium, which was a good turnout for the first match for premiership points at the new redeveloped Ballarat Stadium. The other Saturday afternoon game was at the MCG between Collingwood and Geelong. Collingwood had a pretty good streak of 3 wins against Geelong in the last 3 times they've met. But Collingwood hasn't won 4 in a row against Geelong for 57 years, and that did not change in this match with Geelong winning by 11 points. They did get a scare, it's fair to say. Collingwood did take it up to the Cats, and it wasn't a one-sided affair, but Geelong too strong. Collingwood 9-5-59, defeated by Geelong 10-10-70 in front of 47,889 people at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. The Saturday twilight game was an absolute interesting one. It was a ripper. It was pretty close, but the Giants in the end got the result, and the Eagles, still sitting outside the top 8, need to win this week in round 23 to make the finals. Talk about that very shortly as well. The final score, the Giants 12-9-81, defeated the West Coast Eagles 9-6-60 in front of 15,751 at Spotless Stadium. 2 Saturday night games. The first one I'm going to talk about was a bit of an upset actually. Carlton really took it up to the Hawks, and as a result they won by 7 points, putting a real big line through any chance of the Hawks making finals in 2017, which means they are going to miss the finals for the first time since 2009. And this was in fact Carlton's first win against the Hawthorn Football Club for the first time since round 6 2005. So just repeating there, because I probably didn't say that properly, Carlton has not defeated Hawthorn since round 6 of 2005 until this match on Saturday night, ending a 14-game losing streak. So the Carlton Football Club 12-5-77 defeated Hawthorn 10-10-70 in front of just under 36,000 at Etihad Stadium. The other Saturday night game was the Gold Coast Suns 9-3-57 defeated by Essendon 12-18-90 in front of 16,817 at Metricon Stadium. The Gold Coast Suns did take it up to the Bombers at various stages, but as we all expected, Essendon proved too strong. 3 Sunday games, the early one being at the MCG between Melbourne and the Brisbane Lions, and this was actually a good game. The Lions took it up to Melbourne. In fact, they kicked about 4 in a row at one stage and got themselves back in the match. I think that was in the 4th quarter, so it was a tight tussle actually, but Melbourne won in the end 16-8, 104, defeating the Brisbane Lions 14-7, 91 in front of 30,422 at the MCG. Jesse Hogan returned and had a fantastic game in this match. He booted 6 goals and 9 marks, so he had a very good day, and it's a big story considering the year he has had in terms of his personal life and injuries. The mid-Sunday afternoon game was at Etihad Stadium between St Kilda and North Melbourne, and the Saints too strong, 18-19, 127 defeated North Melbourne 12-6-78 in front of 29,126 people at Etihad Stadium. And then the twilight game, well, this was a shocker by the Dockers, who didn't look in it at all throughout the entire game. Maybe the first quarter early, but Richmond just dominant. The final score, Fremantle 7-9-51, defeated by Richmond 25-5, 155 in front of 34,204 at Domain Stadium. The final game for Fremantle at Domain Stadium in terms of the home and away season before they move to that new stadium next year, and what a disgusting way to go out. What a lovely goodbye to Domain Stadium it was, because Fremantle got belted by 100+ points, and that was their second straight belting of 100+ points. So not really good from a Fremantle point of view, but Richmond will be very happy with themselves. They are looking in they're looking in good form heading into the finals, and of course looking to win that first final for so long. So that is the round 22 results. On now to how the ladder looks after round 22. So the AFL ladder after round 22 still very, very close. The final positions inside the top 8 still to probably be mixed around in round 23, and there's even some teams outside the top 8 who can still make it and are still looking to try and book a place inside that top 8 for the 2017 final series. The Adelaide Crows, will start with them. They're top of the table, but with that loss on Friday night, they aren't certainties to claim that minor premiership now, because they're only 2 points clear of the GWS Giants, who are second. If the Adelaide Crows were to lose in Perth this weekend, then the Giants would take their spot. That's of course if the Giants won against Geelong, who are third, by the way. The Cats third, so the GWS Giants second, the Cats third. They verse each other this week at Simmons Stadium. If the Cats were to win, they would go past the Giants and finish second, but if the Giants were to win, then they of course would stay second and have a chance of taking top spot if the Crows were to lose. You then have Richmond fourth on 56 points, just 4 points clear of Port Adelaide and the Sydney Swans. You'd think the only way those two teams can make it inside the top 4 is of course on percentage, but if Richmond lose against St Kilda, which is It could happen. It could happen. It's not a definite no, a definite unlikely. It's a 50-50, I suppose. Seventh is Melbourne on 48 points, just 4 points behind Port Adelaide and the Swans, and then you have Essendon on 8th with 44 points and level with the West Coast Eagles, St Kilda and the Western Bulldogs. Now, if they were to get beat by Fremantle, then they could possibly miss the finals, the Bombers, because if the Dogs won, they could go up to 8th place and book a place in the finals. Or if the Eagles were to win, then they could go above all those teams, St Kilda and the Dogs, and book a place in the finals. But Essendon has to lose because they have a really good percentage, a better percentage than the Eagles. And also St Kilda and the Dogs. So, yeah, lot to be played out in round 23. It's no doubt about that. Hawthorn are 12th. They can't make the finals now. Collingwood 13th. Fremantle 14th. Carlton 15th. The Gold Coast Suns 16th. But this is probably where it's probably important down the bottom of the ladder. North Melbourne and Brisbane Lions level on 20 points. And they verse each other this week at the Gabba, so that will be the battle of avoiding the wooden spoon. Whoever loses that game will finish bottom of the ladder. So it could be North Melbourne, it could be the Brisbane Lions. That's going to be a very interesting game at the Gabba. It's going to be very intense, and I'm sure those teams will be trying to avoid finishing in the wooden spoon position as much as they can. So that is the ladder, very, very close. The top 8 positions still to be decided, and of course there's still some teams trying to get into the top 8 as well, but are relying on results to go their way. So very close ladder. We haven't had a close finish like this for a while. It's fair to say that. Okay, time now for the stats wrap up after round 22. Let's get straight into it, starting with the leading disposal getters, and Tom Mitchell. Well, he leads the disposals. He's going to win it. It's no question about that. He sits on 755. He actually, on the weekend, on Saturday night against Carlton, smashed the all-time record for most disposals in a home and away season. That actually beats the previous 748 disposals set by Collingwood's Wayne Richardson way back in 1971. So, very, very big achievement there from Tom Mitchell, I'd have to say. Like I mentioned last week, he's definitely a chance to win the Brownlow. So he leads the leading disposals and will probably win it, I'm sure. Onto the Coleman medal race now, and Josh Kennedy on 64. He kicked 4 against GWS on Saturday on the weekend, and he sits 4 goals above Joe Danaher, who was second on 60. Buddy Franklin kicked that remarkable goal, took us back, and kicked that remarkable goal on Friday night. That was actually one of 3 goals he kicked against the Crows on Friday night. He sits third on 59. Ben Brown fourth on 56, and 5th is Taylor Walker on 49. But then you have the leading marks, and it's quite close in the leading marks. Actually kind of not, because I think Sam Doherty leads has a pretty good lead, 196 marks. Jeremy Howe's the next best on 170, sitting in second. The leading tackles, Rory Sloane leads the tackles on 167. Second, Brad Ebert on 153. Third is Jack Steele on 150. Fourth is Clayton Oliver on 149, and fifth is Dane Zorko on 141. So that is the stats wrap up for after round 22. Time now for the 5 talking points of the week. Let's get straight to it, starting with the first talking point, the Western Bulldogs trading Jake Stringer. It's been a bit of a talking point, a bit of a debateful topic the last couple of days, ever since the Western Bulldogs lost to Port Adelaide on Saturday. I can understand the debate. I can understand that there's some people that are frustrated with his form the last couple of years, especially this year, where he did miss a little period through to injury, and of course he hasn't been in form since his breakout year in 2015. However, I do not think the Western Bulldogs should trade him. This is coming from a Western Bulldogs supporter, but also kind of putting a little bit of an expert hat on, not calling myself an expert, but you know what I mean, just putting a little bit of a, I guess, common sense hat on, is that he's only 23 years old. He is still developing in some ways. That's not to say he doesn't need to pull his finger out, because he definitely does. His last couple of years, last year and yeah, this year, hasn't been great, so he definitely does need to pull his finger out. But this year, more importantly, he hasn't really had the support from the forward line as much as anything. I think that's what's letting him down. Yes, there's also there's also game factors personally from himself that needs improving and needs some work to get him back to that great player he was in 2015. But just give him some time. Give him another pre-season. I'm sure Luke Beveridge will make him work harder than ever. Maybe possibly put him in the midfield more next year, and if not, put him, onto pockets and flanks, because he's been named at centre half forward. And that's a bit of a tough task for a man of his ability. He's not a centre half forward player. He's a flank. He's a pocket. And that's probably why he's also been out of form at times this year, is because he's just been playing in positions where, key forward positions, when he's not actually that key forward. He's more of a pacey type forward that plays on the pockets, the flanks, and can go into the midfield if we need him there. So give him a pre-season. I wouldn't trade him yet. He's only 23 years old. He's still young, and he can get back to the form he was in 2015. He is only young. And I wouldn't trade him if I was Luke Beveridge or the Western Bulldogs. Talking point number 2, the woes at Fremantle. What is going on with Fremantle the last couple of weeks? I know their first, top opposition, such as the Sydney Swans last week. I guess that was understandable that they got flogged by 100+ points, but this week against Richmond at their home ground, the last match for them at Domain Stadium until they move to the new one, gets another 100+ point flogging. It's their third this year. We can let them off the hook a little bit, because they've had a better year than last year in some ways. They're sitting higher than where they finished last year, but you can't be flogged like that 2 weeks in a row, and it's just not acceptable. It's not the caper AFL is. You can't accept that. So and then they have to come down to Melbourne and play Essendon at Etihad, and just kind of thinking about it, even though they've won the last 4 against the Bombers are in terrific form, especially when it's at Etihad. And geez, I'm just picturing in my head right now that they could absolutely flog the Dockers on Sunday, and that could be their 4th 100+ defeat. It's not good enough the last couple of weeks. The only positive to come out of that game was Harley Bennell's return. That was the only positive to come out of that game on Sunday. That you just can't take that. And Ross Lyon, he probably can't do much now, because it is at the back end of the season. That's kind of where you let him off the hook a little bit, because it's the end of the season. But this is a side who came within 2 points of beating Geelong. Lost away from home to the Giants by 12 points. They beat Richmond at the MCG, and yet they got flogged Sunday. And I'm probably missing a few other good wins they've had this year as well. But yeah, it's not really good enough, to be honest. And I'm sure that will be a factor into to overviewing the year, and then looking through to next year, because I think next year's a big year for them. They need to try and go higher than what they have finished this year. Third talking point is Jesse Hogan. This is a bloke who is in his 3rd year of AFL football, won the NAB Rising Star in his 1st year, 2nd year was outstanding, 3rd year has been clouded with a few personal issues, but he's probably still had a great year this year, because his averages have been still at a very good a very good standard, and for his standard anyway. And he was so good on Sunday. Came back from that collarbone injury and kicked 6 goals, 9 marks. He was deadly. He was dangerous inside the forward 50 for Melbourne, and you got to applaud him, because he's had a tough year this year. Yet he's when he's come back to the side, he's given it his all, and he's played like an absolute superstar. I have every bit of respect for Jesse Hogan, and I was very impressed with what I saw on Sunday. This could be the key to Melbourne winning the premiership this year. They can do it. They can do it. They can. Obviously they're still going to make the finals, but it's very likely that they will make the finals, and then they could go all the way, and it could be just with the inclusion of Jesse Hogan, who is just an all-round star. And there has been a bit of a debate whether is he better than Jake Stringer, or is Jake Stringer better than Jesse Hogan? I probably would have said Jake Stringer a couple of years ago, but at the moment I'd have to say Jesse Hogan, because even though he's had a pretty interrupted year this year, when he's come back into the side, he's been nothing but a gun player and a key player for the Melbourne Football Club. So I applaud him. He's a very good player, a very important player to the Melbourne Football Club. Still a young and up-and-coming player as well, still developing, and it's going to be great when he plays a full year of football next year and what he can do. Fourth talking point of the week is Brad Scott and a big name signing. There's been reports suggesting that Brad Scott needs to land a big name signing. For example, Dustin Martin or Josh Kelly being the two main ones to actually get a contract extension, I suppose, and keep his job beyond 2018. It's an interesting debate. I don't think one player is the key to their problems, though. You can't just sign Dustin Martin and then, he's a good player. He makes the side a whole lot better, but he's not going to be the answer to all the North Melbourne problems, and there's no guarantee with including him into the side that North Melbourne are going to make finals once he's included. Same with Josh Kelly as well. If it's both, then that could be interesting. Maybe that could change the debate a little bit. But should Brad Scott keep his job? I don't know. North Melbourne, this year they were never going to make the finals, and they've probably had the year that we've expected. They've been competitive at times. It would be great if they got that big name signing, but I just don't think it's going to be the key to their problems. I don't think, and it's not going to be the key to Brad Scott having really big success with this club. So and whether Brad Scott's the key to the future of North Melbourne, I don't know. That's another debate, but. It's been an interesting debate this week, certainly. Talking point number 5, Port Adelaide. Where do we place Port Adelaide at the moment? Since that Adelaide Crows flogging, they've won their next 2 against Collingwood and the Western Bulldogs, 1 at home, 1 away. Are they a genuine premiership contender? Can they go beyond week 1 of the finals? They haven't beaten a top 8 side this year, and that's what we're all putting it down to, and I think that's why a lot of people are counting them out and not giving them any chance to win the premiership. And I'm kind of in that boat, because yes, when they've won, their best has been very, very good and very impressive. But when they've versed top 8 sides, they've been blown away, and they haven't performed at the level that they performed against sides that are below them. So because of that, you have to say that they won't go beyond week 1 of the finals. But then again, they could lift the intensity, and we know that Ken Hinkley is big on that. And they could lift the intensity in finals, and then come out with form that we've never seen them play against a top 8 side, a side above them on the ladder. It's going to be an interesting final series for them, and I think week 1 it's going to be very, very vital, and it's going to be very intriguing stuff to see how they go. Of course, they can still make the top 4, but I think at this stage they probably won't make the top 4, so I'll only get a single chance, a single crack at it at week 1, and if they blew it, then they are out. Okay, time now to get into the round 23 matches and my tips. Can you believe it? The final round of the 2017 home and away season is here. The season has just flown and gone so quick. I can't believe we are here already, but we're starting to get closer, and starting to now dive into one of the exciting and big times of the year, and that is the final series, the AFL final series that is. So round 23 starts on Friday night, Friday the 25th of August, with a massive game, a bit of a celebration of a few retirees in our game. Robert Murphy, Luke Hodge, Matthew Boyd if he plays, Gibson if he plays as well. It's going to be a real big tribute to them. So 7:50 p.m. the Hawthorn Football Club take on the Western Bulldogs at Etihad Stadium. You can watch it on 7 and Fox Footy, but I'd encourage everyone to get along if you are nearby and can go. Saturday, a big Saturday of footy. It's fair to say that Saturday the 26th of August, the first game is at 1:45 p.m. with Collingwood taking on Melbourne at the MCG. You can watch this on Fox Footy, this game, and I'm tipping Melbourne to win this game. I think they'll be too good for Collingwood. By the way, I'm tipping the Western Bulldogs to beat Hawthorn. The 2:10 game is the battle to avoid the wooden spoon. The Brisbane Lions taking on North Melbourne at the Gabba. You can watch this one on Fox Sports 3. I'm tipping the Brisbane Lions. They've been in very, very good form. I've liked, they've been very exciting, I should say, in the back end of this season, and especially the last few weeks. And I think they will bring that excitement to the Gabba on Saturday for their final game and beat North Melbourne and avoid the wooden spoon, which means that North Melbourne would get the wooden spoon for 2017. 4:35 p.m. at the SCG, the Sydney Swans take on Carlton. The Blues actually beat the Swans earlier in the year. That was at the MCG. The Swans are in better form now, though, and even though Carlton beat Hawthorn last week, I think the Sydney Swans will be too strong. This game you can see on Fox Footy. 7:25, a massive game between Geelong and the GWS Giants at Simmers Stadium. You can watch this one on 7 and Fox Footy. Should be an absolute ripper. This is a 50-50 game. Hard to tip a winner in this one. I'm going to go the Cats. I'm going to stick with them at home. And I think they've got a good record against the Giants at Simmons Stadium, so I'm going to stick with the Cats. If it was elsewhere, maybe the MCG or even at Spotless Stadium, I'd probably tip the Giants at this point in time. But of course, these two teams drew earlier in the year. Let's not forget that, so it should be a ripper. The other Saturday night game is at the Adelaide Oval between Port Adelaide and the Gold Coast Suns. You can watch it on Fox Sports 3. It starts at 7:10 p.m. local, 7:40 p.m. Eastern. Of course, these two teams played out that China match earlier in the year. Port Adelaide were way too strong for the Suns, and they should be too strong for the Suns on this occasion. 3 Sunday games. They're massive games, this one, to decide who actually finishes in the top 8. And if Essendon win against Fremantle at 1:10 p.m. at Etihad Stadium on Sunday, then that wraps it up, really. You can watch that game on Fox Footy. I'm tipping the Bombers to win that one. 3:20, Richmond and St Kilda. Nick Riewold's last game. It's at the MCG. You can watch it on 7 and Fox Footy. I'm tipping Richmond to win, although St Kilda got a cracking win against the Tigers the last time these two teams played. So I am expecting a beauty, but Richmond should be too strong. They've been really good of late, especially last week against the Dockers, won by 100+ points. Then the final game, it's a massive one. The West Coast Eagles taking on the Adelaide Crows at Domain Stadium, 2:40 p.m. local, 4:40 p.m. Eastern. You can watch it on Fox Footy. The last game for premiership points at Domain Stadium, of course, moving to the new Perth Stadium next year. Should be a beauty. I think the West Coast Eagles have a pretty good record against the Adelaide Crows at Domain Stadium, so they could be in with a shot. And of course, if they win this, it gives them a chance to make the top 8. But you would expect the Adelaide Crows will be too strong and will dash any chance of the West Coast Eagles making finals in 2017. So that is the round 22 matches along with my tips. It is going to be another good round, especially a good round to finish off the home and away season. And that is it for this week's episode of Bev's Footy Show. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, don't forget to like, comment and share this video. Subscribe if you enjoyed it, and to check out a new episode of this every week up until the grand final, following the grand final, and also check out my other content as well on this channel. Also check out my weekly live stream, the Bev Show. It is every Sunday at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Time. You can check it out at facebook.com/thebevshow. So once again, thank you very much everyone for watching, and enjoy round 23. Bye for now.